Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger have signed a treaty establishing a confederation called the Alliance of Sahel States. The three countries are under military rule. Captain Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso, Colonel Assimi Goïta of Mali and General Abdourahmane Tiani of Niger met in Niger's capital Niamey on Saturday, July 6, for an inaugural summit of the transitional rulers. Niger's Tiani said they had irrevocably left the West African regional bloc ECOWAS, which they accused of unfairly targeting Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger after the military took power in those countries between 2020 and 2023. All the three countries have experienced regular insurgent attacks which have left thousands of people dead. While assuming power, the military rulers said failure to address the perennial problem of insecurity was their main reason for staging coups. In January this year, Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger announced their intention to leave ECOWAS, saying the regional bloc was no longer serving their interests but those of foreigners. ECOWAS had imposed trade, financial and transport sanctions on the three countries before lifting the restrictions in February. While announcing the formation of their new confederation on Saturday, Tiani said he, Traore and Goïta wanted to build a sovereign community far from the control of foreign powers. He added the new body will promote peace, solidarity and prosperity based on African values. Traore said the governments of Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger will consolidate the foundations of our true independence. He added that Africa continues to suffer from the fire of the imperialists. Mali's Goïta said the strengthened relation means an attack on one of us will be an attack on all the other members. The Confederation said it will cooperate on security and also introduce a common currency for the three countries. The nations want to do away with the French-backed Central African franc, a currency used by many French-speaking countries in West Africa. After declaring their intention to leave ECOWAS in January, the regional bloc urged Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger to hold dialogue with the bloc's leadership to prevent their exits. The three nations, however, declined, saying they had made up their minds. On Sunday, July 7th, ECOWAS heads of state met in Nigeria's capital Abuja and reiterated their call to the breakaway countries to rescind their decision, saying the West African bloc risks disintegration. ECOWAS Commission's President Omar Traore said the trio's exit would disrupt freedom of movement and settlement of people, as well as worsen insecurity in the region. Despite ECOWAS saying Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger can only leave the body 1 year from January 29th, when they formally submitted their withdrawal notices, the three nations say they have already left the bloc. The three breakaway countries have a combined population of about 72 million people of ECOWAS's.
Welcome back, family. Let's dive in a short and clear conversation here. Why are Sahel leaders wanted by the system? Why are they wanted by the West system? And I can say that all this is happening because of the Russia and China influence in the region. Not only in the Sahel region, but Russia and China has shown the great interest and influence in Africa. And that's why today the Western powers are not sleeping. That's why today the Western powers are coming so hard to fight any leader who is against their agreements and their issues. So this is not just the end of it, but I believe that this is the beginning, because Africans has come to say that enough is enough, and we better find the best friends, the best better build up and made the best relationship than all that we have been living in, all that we have been sleeping in, that has not bringing out any solution or any conclusion in African affairs and African issues. That's why today we see all African leaders who are fighting, who have been collaborating or associating with the Western powers. Some of them and many of them are showing the less interest in them. That's why today you see that they are pushing more things. They're pushing so hard their system here in Africa, and they're so worried about all that's happening today in Africa. And let me first focus in Sahel region and why all this is happening. Russia is rapidly replacing Western influence in the Sahel region through a strategic mix of military support, political alignment, anti-colonial messaging, and economic partnerships, particularly in countries that have recently experienced military coups in like Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. Here, there are many things which have caused this. How Russia is pushing out Western powers, especially France and the US in the Sahel. So first of all, we have to look in things and the basic things which have made this like a security support and private military contractors in Sahel regions in general. So France had the thousands of troops in Sahel, but was expelled from Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger in 2023 and 2024. In each case, Russia moved in quickly, offering military assistance, weapons, and private security forces. Primarily, this happened immediately after these countries tried to show less interest in West powers like US and France, because their military bases has been here, and they have been here to monitor anything that African countries are doing against their will. That's why it has been so hard to find that Africans can free themselves from the hands of these people, because they have their troops all over African countries. When you go in each and African countries, you find that there must be a military base of West powers. There must be a military base, but these military bases are not here to help or to engage in any African affairs or matters, because when you speak in this country of Sahel, this Sahel has been experiencing more violence like jihadist, ISIS, terrorism. Terrorism has been in a high percentage. But this military bases or military corps has been there for a very long time, but they have not been able to come and involve themselves in these matters, because these are the matters. They believe that these are the matters of Africans. But if we as Africans are asking if these matters that affect Africans for the Africans, then what are the reasons of them being here in Africa? What are their presence here in Africa if they cannot come and engage in the matters and the problems that are affecting Africa? So that is the most reason as to why now the African leader or the Sahel leaders decided that they want to expel these troops from their countries, because they have nothing good to offer them. All that they are doing there is just to watch over and monitor all that is happening in that country, and to take care of anything that belongs to them, like the investments, their people who are there, their diplomatic issues, but they are not considering anything that affects Africa or anything that is for the interest of the Africans. That's why the African leaders or the coup leaders in West Africa decided to expel them out of their countries. So Mali. So and number two, I'll say that information and warfare and Western propaganda. Russia fuels anti-colonial rhetoric, presenting itself as a friend to Africa that help fight imperialism. Russian media like RT Africa and social media campaigns frame the work, especially France, as exploiters. And this is not wrong. This is not a false, because France has been, we can say that they are the major exploiters in this region, because France has been in relation with these countries for a very long time, and they have been maintaining it. But this diplomatic relationship has not bringing any interest in Sahel region. Because for a very long time they have been exploiting these countries, taking their gold, taking their uranium, gold, diamonds, cobalt from this country, but with nothing in return. That's why you see this country has been among the poorest countries in Africa. They were the country that was never known anywhere. Many people have come to know this country of Sahel because of the influence of Captain Ibrahim Traore, Mali, Assimi Goita, mostly Captain Ibrahim Traore. His influence is the one which has bring these countries in limelight. But many people never knew the country of Burkina Faso. I am in Africa, but I never know. I just knew that there was a country called Burkina Faso because it's on the map, but I never knew anything that comes out that do with these countries. I never knew anything that's happened in this country. We've seen all that was coming out of that country is like a breaking news. The terrorism has happened. People have been killed by Al-Shabaab, by ISIS, jihadists. But anything good was not coming out of that country. And there has been several coups in this country. This is not the first. When you go to the country like Burkina Faso, this was not the first coup that has happened in that country. I think this is a third coup. And Ibrahim Traore is the one who has taken this country in a coup process as the third leader of coup. But he's the only leader who has managed to take this country out of their bad status. This is the only country that has managed to bring this country in a limelight, and now today everyone is celebrating about Burkina Faso. Everyone is celebrating the best leadership, no matter who is leading this country, no matter which way did he came to power to lead this country. But all the people are looking up is how this country is being governed, how the government of this country is taking things. How are they controlling their government? That is what matters. That's what Africans are looking up to today. Because when we start to say that this, the leader was not came, the leader just came a democratic way. This a dictator. He's a military. Yes. This is a military government. It's a military government, but up to now, it's the government that is in control of Burkina Faso. This is the government that's making new policies in this country. As you have seen, just the other day, they have expelled the UN official leader in that country because of what he has been doing, because of what she has been doing. She has been exposing the false information about this country. Facing she has been doing a lot just to make sure that she exposed the name of Burkina Faso in a negative way. That's why Captain Ibrahim Traore of this country decided that he never need to see this lady from this country because she's not doing anything that can build or can make a good relationship as what brought her to that country. So the Africans are supporting all that's coming out of that region. They're supporting the influence of Russians because Russians are not and Chinas are not fighting on how to come and decolonize these countries, but they are fighting on how they can establish their businesses here, on how they can establish can make the good relationship and can tie a new diplomatic relationship with these countries, and not only in this country but African countries. That's why you see most of the African leaders today are going to engage with Russia and China. After Ibrahim Traore came to power, he was invited by America, by Donald Trump, but he refused that golden opportunity, golden invitation. Why? Because we used to see that all African leaders, when invited by the European countries, by the West powers, they run there as fast as they can. But something happened in a different way, where Ibrahim Traore was invited, but he declined that offer. Why? Because he felt like, that is what I also feel like. Going there cannot bring a solution, because when you go there, you have to go to agree and sign some agreements, and the agreements that you are going to sign cannot be of building up your country. But the only agreement that you can sign is how you are going to do business with them, and they're not doing business, but they're coming to take things from your country with nothing to support you. So you have to go and sign agreements. This is what African leaders has been always going to do there in America. So let me not speak much about this. But he accepted the invitation of Russia, and Russia invited Ibrahim Traore only in Africa for his grand military parade. Russia celebrating their freedom. They invited Captain Ibrahim Traore only as African leader. So this means a lot. They respect Ibrahim Traore. They respect his decisions. They respect his leadership. That's why they invited him. And as he was invited, as he attended this ceremony, he never just go there to ask for help, as some countries, some African leaders do. They only go to ask for money, loans, which is not doing anything here in Africa. They're coming with this money, but what that they're doing with this money, they're only the one knows, and the citizens are the one who are paying these debts. But all that he asks is about the knowledge on how he can be able to make the nuclear weapons country. So this leader, this is not just a leader, but a great leader. Ibrahim Traore is being celebrated because of his wisdom. He's using his wisdom to lead this country. He's using his wisdom and knowledge to govern Africa. And that's why he will always be being remembered. He will always be remembered. He will always be celebrated. Some people are feeling so bad because of his influence in Africa, but we don't care. The Africans don't care. As long as he's there and doing what is for the interest of the Africans, then how can you come and convince Africans not to support Captain Ibrahim Traore? How can you do that? Because they already know. They have already testified themselves. They already know. They are already seeing all that is happening. They are already seeing all that he's doing. How can you come and convince them that this is the bad leader? It is impossible. You have to agree about that. Number 3, political alliance with the military regimes. Russia is forming strong ties with the junta-led governments that feel isolated by the West. Mali, Assimi Goita, Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore, Niger, Abdurrahmani Chiani. These are the leaders, or the junta-led governments leaders who are leading West African countries like or Sahel region. So, unlike the US, France, or EU, Russia doesn't lecture about democracy, elections, or civil rights. Russia, France, and US always preach about democracy. Why are they doing this? Because they believe in democracy. They believe that only democracy is the tool that can make their dreams to be achieved. They believe that only democracy is the only way they can manage to always capture Africa through that democracy. Because that democracy, they never brought that democracy unintentionally. They did this knowing that they are going to capture Africa through this. Because when they plan in Africa, there must be election after every a certain duration of time, and they are the one planning this election. They are the one printing this election. They are the one who are coming to supervise the election. So they are the one controlling the system of African governance. So that's why in Africa we are having the puppet leaders. That's why today in Africa we are having the puppet leaders, because before you choose the leader you want, they are the one who choose the leader that they want. They're the one who choose the leader to govern us through that democracy. And that's why today Africans say that they don't want democracy, they want the best leadership. They don't want democracy, they need the best leadership. Because democracy cannot bring a solution, cannot bring food on the table, cannot bring peace. This democracy, they have made Africans to believe that democracy is an illusion. Because if democracy could have been working as it was intended, as it was believed to be working, then Africa at this time would have been developed much. In Africa today, we could have not experiencing these riots, this crisis, this war. In Africa, we could have not been experiencing this high number, or this high rate of number rising every day of refugees. Africa, if democracy was good, then Africa would have been a place of peace, development, a good relationship, united. All that is the cause of democracy. That's the meaning of democracy. But because of all that is happening today in Africa, that was made Africans to believe that that democracy is an illusion. So, these regimes see Russia as a partner that supports their sovereignty, not a colonizer. Number 4, I'll talk about the economic offers. Economic offers, limited but growing. Russia has begun signing economic deals for mining gold, uranium, fertilizers, and what with experts energy cooperation. While Russia doesn't yet have the same economic footprint as China or the West, it is using bilateral deals and debt relief promises to win favor. Russia has promised free grain shipment to 6 African nations, including Mali and Burkina Faso. Free. Just like the West has been bringing the foreign aids here in Africa for a very long time before Donald Trump came to cut off. But these foreign aids were not coming as free, but was being paid indirect, because as they were bringing their foreign foods, food relief in Africa, in back of it, they were coming to take uranium, gold, and everything. As they were coming to deliver their foreign aids like medicines and everything for the patients in the hospitals, they were coming on the back of it to take the same. They deliver 10%, but they take 90%. So how can they say that they were helping Africa? So they cut these foreign aids from African countries. But still, Africa is still growing. Africans are still surviving. The patients in the African hospital are still being taken care of. They're still being serviced. The students in the hospital are still the children in the schools are still learning. The orphanage are still surviving, because we have Africans who are there to help these people. So this means that without these aids, Africa can still survive. Without loans, Africa can still build itself. Without any political assistance, Africa can still govern by itself. So this is a wake up. This is a revival. This is something that we as Africans, we have to sit down and try to look inside and try to know that all can happen without West influence. All can happen without the West support. But it's so hard to explain this to the African leaders. And that's why today Africa supports BRICS. Africa have to support BRICS, because through BRICS and diplomatic forum, Russia is inviting African countries into BRICS. How Russia is replacing the West in Sahel. In summary, I will say that there are many things that we can speak about when we speak about the Russia replacing the West in the Sahel. And this is not a dream, but it's a fact that is happening today. The fact that is happening today. Russia replaces free forces, military support, political support for juntas, economic deals, and aid, global positioning like BRICS,